What's going on, all my toy collectors and Batman fans out there? You know who it is. It's your boy Ox. Now, before we get into today's review, I want to start off by telling all of my subscribers, thank you. Thank you for all of the support. This past week, I hit over 500 subscribers, a goal that I wouldn't have been able to achieve if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you. Thank you for liking all the videos, all of the love in the comments, letting me know what you want to see, or even what I can do better. I know that there's a lot of other reviewers out there who've been in the game a lot longer than I have, and I grew up watching their channels, and I still watch their channels because I love toys. So thank you for choosing me for all of your reviews and all of your toy entertainment, because I've been collecting since I was 4. I just want to share my collection with you collectors, because that's what it's all about. And that's why today's review is going to be a special one. So if you're new to the channel, here I'm all about TMC. Toys, movies, and customs. And lately, I've only been focusing on mainstream toys and theater merchandise. That's why today we're going to take a look at the first custom on this channel. We're going to be taking a look at a custom-made Frank Miller Dark Knight Returns Bat Tank. This baby comes all the way from the Philippines from my boy Dino at Dark Claw Customs. So stay tuned as I show you guys a really cool piece of art and give you guys an opportunity to pull the trigger and go ahead and order one for yourself. Let's get to it. Okay guys, this is a little history on this vehicle. It's called the Bat Tank from the Dark Knight Returns novel by Frank Miller. You can also see it in action in the animated movie, The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and Part 2, which I think are still streaming on Max. It's one of the biggest vehicles that Batman has in his arsenal. He ended up using this to dismantle the mutant leader and his gang because it's basically like a riot vehicle. It's meant to withstand any attack, drive on any kind of terrain. It was even used in the fight against Superman when the Boy Scout thought that he could take down the Bat, which didn't end too well for him. Now let's go ahead and take an up-close look at it. Now, like I said, this is a custom piece by Dark Claw Customs. Deano, the designer, told me he built this strictly out of random hardware parts and stuff that he found laying around. So nothing on this tank is 3D printed. Everything is just random stuff that he found probably at his local hardware store. Now, taking a look up close at it, you can see, just like in the novel and in the movie, that it looks a lot like a vampire bat. You can see the ears right here on the side. You can see the face. You can see the eyes, kind of like the nose of a vampire bat right there. So that's pretty cool how with all the different Batman vehicles, they in some way, like the Batwing and the Batmobiles, they end up trying to make them look like a bat in some kind of way. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, taking a look at the stuff that I think he used to make this, this right here, I think is maybe like a Tupperware container, like some kind of like maybe like a ham sandwich container or something probably. And then right here, the machine guns, they look like they're super glue tips, like the tip of a super glue bottle or something like that. But yeah, that's what those look like. And actually in shipping, because this came all the way from the Philippines and I live in the States, in shipping, this was the only 2 things that were broke on this thing. He packed this thing very well, but maybe just shaking around or something, these 2 things ended up breaking off. So I just had to hot glue them back on, and the paint had kind of chipped a little bit, so I had to respray paint it. And you could kind of see it on camera with the way the light's shining that I didn't end up using the same flat black that he ended up using. So it left a little mark right there, but you can only see that when the light is like blatantly shining right on the front, just because I had to respray paint this side right here. So you can see that little difference in black right there. That's not his fault. That's my fault. Like I said, it got damaged a little bit in shipping, but that was nothing that I couldn't fix basically. And then this right here, I'm gonna say is probably EVA foam, which he just, you know, added all the different details into it and stuff. Now you can see all these different kind of designs right up here. I think this is all made of EVA foam, not this stuff. I'm not really sure what all this stuff is made of, but this right here is all cut by hand. I remember seeing him do this when he was sending me pictures of progress. He was cutting all these treads and everything like that out of foam. So that's pretty cool. None of this, like I said, is printed by the computer. This is all him just cutting it by hand. These little canisters right here, I'm not sure exactly what they are, but I can see that they're hard on each side and then maybe EVA foam up here. But yeah, man, that's really cool. And turning around, let's go ahead and take a look at these treads, the tread on the tires right here. Like I said, this was all EVA foam that he cut out by hand and ended up hooking in there. And it looks really cool, man. Like I said, he put a lot of work, a lot of time into this thing. So I was really excited to find this guy and then to be able to talk with him and go ahead and order me one of these. Because you can see all the different pieces right here from like either tires, like pieces of like clocks and stuff. This is some more of those like the machine guns that you've seen in the front right there. These some more of those super glue tips right here. And then you can see like PVC pieces or even like baby bottles or something right there that he ended up using. And even these little things right here, you can see them right on the front as well. I think these are like pieces to like furniture, like to cover up the screws, those little black things. They have them in white too and are brown that you end up pushing into the screw in order to cover up the screw to different pieces of furniture when you're putting it together. But yeah, man, this right here is all the inner mechanics of the tread tires and everything like that. Okay, now this is the back of the bat tank. You can see all the tread right here. This piece right here ends up opening up this little hatch right here. If you open it up, there's a spot right here to put the Batman, which I'm going to end up zooming in for you guys. But this piece right here, I think, I'm not really for sure, is maybe like a small trash can for like a kid's room or something like that. I'm not really for sure. But like I said, Deano put a lot of creativity and thought into this. Just to go out and go buy random parts and build something like this is really cool, man. Okay, now once you open up this hatch or this canopy right here, you can see the inside of this tank. You can see that there's a chair right there for Batman or Robin to sit down at. You can see his monitoring screen. That way he could see when driving this, because obviously he doesn't have a front window or like review mirrors. That way he could see where he's going. And there's little buttons, and then there's a little stick right there in order for him to drive, because obviously it's a tank. It doesn't have a steering wheel. But yeah, I told Dark Claw Customs that they didn't have to end up putting any kind of graphics or anything like that on here. It just saved me some money, because I can end up doing that myself, cut out like a picture from the movie and just glue that right in there. And I might even add some lights. But to be real with you, I'm probably not, I don't even display this open like this, so I don't really care too much what the inside of it looks like. And I'll show you what it looks like with a figure inside of there, because some figures fit and some figures don't, and I'll show you which ones do and which ones don't. But I don't really display this with it open. I just display it with figures all around it and on top of it. Okay, now just to let you know how big this thing is, I've already measured it out for you. It's 17 inches long by 10 inches tall right up here at the top of this canopy, by 12 inches wide from the back of these two treads right here. So this is a big vehicle, but it's not huge. It's not going to take up a lot of space like maybe like the HasLab Galactus or one of them old Ant Star Wars walkers or something like that. It's not, it's bigger than the other Batman vehicles, like the Batmobile vehicles that I have it displayed next to, but it's not longer than them. It actually fits in scale, because this is meant to be a lot bigger than those vehicles. So yeah, it's not going to take up too much space. I think the main thing is I keep all of my stuff in glass. It just displays better. The light shines through it rather than wood. And that's not knocking anyone else's collection. It's just what I was able to come across when I was building my my cave down here. And I do that because I didn't want dust to end up getting all over this thing. Because I actually bought this, I think in 2020, maybe 2021. And I just had him hold on to it because I was remodeling and I didn't want to get drywall dust and everything like that, or have to try and store this and possibly get it broken, because cleaning all of those different crevices right here that get dust in there might end up being a hassle. So I display this in a glass case to where I don't have to worry about dusting it or anything like that. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some figures next to it, okay? Okay, now here's some figures standing next to this thing. This is that new McFarlane Dark Knight Returns Batman he came out with last year. This right here is the older Mattel one. I think DC Unlimited Dark Knight Returns one. So as you can see, they're both almost about the same height. He's just a tad bit taller, 7 inches. He's like 6 3/4. But as you can see, they stand really well next to this bat tank. I mean, I don't even think that they go over the tread on the tires. Yeah, he does just a little bit. But yeah, man, so they just scale really well. I love this Batman, don't get me wrong. I just didn't want to buy the McFarlane Dark Knight Returns line. I just wanted this figure just because he didn't come out with all the different figures that Mattel had came out with. Like Mattel had came out with, you know, the mutant leader, came out with the different suits that Batman wore in that novel, and I just like the way they fit better as far as scale wise. He's a little bit shorter, so he ends up making this tank look even more brooding when I put him on it. And you can have these figures standing next to it. This right here is Kira Kelly. Like I said, this is the Mattel This right here is the Mattel Kira Kelly, not the McFarlane one. Like I said, they're a little bit smaller, so they just scale a lot better with this vehicle. And you can have them standing next to it. You can have them on top of it, which I'll show you in a second. And I'll show you how these figures fit inside of that cockpit, okay, guys? But let's show you guys how it looks with the figures on top. Okay, now this is how those Mattel DC Comic Multiverse figures look. Standing on top of it, you can see Batman right there, Kira Kelly. Like I said, I display them with the old Mattel figures just because they came out with more characters, like the Mutant Leader right here. I like sitting him in the front of this thing and, you know, just screaming at the bat, like, you know, come out and fight me like a man, you know. So I just like these figures a little bit more because they just fit and scale a lot better. And that right there is how that Batman and Kira Kelly look on top of here. Okay, now this is that McFarlane Multiverse figure right there. Like I said, he's just a little bit bigger, but yeah, man, he scales really well with this thing too. It's just they didn't come out with all the characters. But right there, that's how he looks standing on top of there. I'll rotate it around for you guys. And you could put him on the tires. You could put him right there in the middle. Okay, now here's Batman in his armored suit when he went toe-to-toe with Superman in the Dark Knight Returns novel. As you can see right here, he still measures really well, scales really well with this bat tank. Rotate it around for you guys. That right there is how he ends up looking. I just have Superman on this little figure stand. But yeah, he scales really well with this. Now, these older Mattel figures, they lack a lot of articulation, so it's a little harder getting them inside of this vehicle, which I'll show you in a second, okay? Okay, now this right here is that Mattel DC Multiverse Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice Batman. And I'm showing him standing on top of here because as you guys can remember at the end of the Zack Snyder's cut of the Justice League, that Batfleck was standing at the top of this at the end of that movie. And it was actually really cool because Snyder's version of Batman from that movie was based off of the Dark Knight Returns comic book. So it was just a bonus to end up seeing this Bat tank at the end of that movie. Even though you didn't see it in action or do anything, it was just a cool homage to end up seeing this Bat tank at the end of the movie and seeing Ben Affleck standing there with that suit on, you know, because it's just like the Dark Knight Returns novel, the suit basically. So it was just really cool to end up seeing that Snyder ended up fitting that in there. I know that there's a lot of people out there who don't like Zack Snyder and a lot of people who do. So I'm one of them people who liked him, but I'm excited to see the reboot and see what James Gunn is going to do because, you know, sometimes after 10 years, it's okay to change things up. I mean, I used to like the Marvel movies a whole lot. And then, you know, after the Infinity Saga, it just all went downhill. You know, personally for me, I haven't really liked too much of the Marvel movies lately. And it's okay to sometimes just start over and reboot. Okay, now I wanted to show a few figures on the inside of here and show you what it looks like. Now, the main issue with actually putting figures in here is the capes. This cape is like a really hard plastic and he doesn't have very good articulation. So, you know, his legs don't come up very high. They might bend, but they don't come up to any kind of sitting position. And his cape is going to is going to hinder him from actually sitting inside of this thing. So that's the only issue with the Mattel figures right here is actually trying to sit them in there. He'll fit, I can put him in there, but he's not going to sit directly down in that chair like I want him to. But he will sit in there just like that, but he's not sitting flat straight down in there. So that's one of the major issues. Like I said, it's nothing to do with the tank. It has to do with the figures. No matter how much I try and stretch them up, I just can't get him to sit straight down. And now, taking a look at the McFarlane Dark Knight Returns figure, almost the same with him. I can't get him to sit straight down. No matter how much I bend his legs, you just can't get him to sit straight down. It's like he's just too bulky, or his underwear right here are just stopping him. So, but I'll show you what he looks like inside of there. But yeah, getting him to sit down is just not going to happen, basically. But he does fit in there. The cape also hinders his movement. So there's a lot of room up here because of this part right here. There's a lot of space up there. But he still sits flat down in there. But like I said, he just doesn't... The cape hinders him from sitting down, just like the Mattel one does right here. The cape being a hard plastic ends up stopping them from sitting down. This right here is that Mattel figure, the Armored Batman. Same with him. You can't get him to sit down, but, you know, he fits in there. All of these figures will fit inside of here. They're just not going to be sitting straight down. Basically, that's the gist of it. They can look at the screen and you know, look like they're driving and everything like that, but they're actually not going to fit in there, you know, sit down properly, which you're not even going to notice, because if you're looking from the sides or, you know, or even looking from the back, you can't see that they're actually sitting down. This right here is one of the Mattel Dawn of Justice Batmans. Same with him. He's going to have the same issue. It's like none of these figures, the legs can lift up to their chest or at least up to their waist in sitting position. But he fits in there just fine. Yep, fits in there just fine looking at the screen right there. Now, if you guys want to see some other figures, let me know down in the comments. You know, and I'll let you know what other figures I might have that end up fitting. Actually, here's another one. I just grabbed out all of my Batmans that had gray suits right here. But here's this figure. His legs end up coming up a lot more. That right there. This right here is from the Mattel, I think, 2003 line, I think. Yep. And he sits down in there just like that. So this thing's going to hold a lot of different size figures, you know, from possibly 8-inch, like those the Beast Kingdom figures. So it's going to hold a lot of figures from maybe 8 inches down. Probably, obviously not the big 12-inch, you know, childlike figures that, you know, I call those childlike figures because there's something I give to my baby and she just smashes them together. But it's not going to fit any 12-inch figures in here, but it's going to fit a lot of other figures. Almost any figure that you have is going to fit in there. He's just probably not going to sit directly down in the chair due to the articulation. Okay, now here's a comparison of a couple different Batmobiles. That right there is the Kenner New Adventures Batmobile. That right there is the Arkham Knight Batmobile for the 3 3/4, 4-inch figures. This right here is that Bat Tank we just looked at. That right there is the Kenner Batman the Animated Series and the Mattel Batman Missions. Okay, now here's some Batmobiles from different movies. That right there is the Batman. That right there is the Tumbler from Batman Begins. That's the Bat Tank we looked at. Those right there are the two Kenner, Batman Forever and Dark Knight Collections Batmobile. This right there is how they look. And as you can see, this Batmobile is meant to be bigger. So it's meant to be taller, but it's not actually longer than these other Batmobiles. Okay, last comparison for you real quick. This is a bigger Batmobile from Mattel from 2003. That right there is a 2-seater, and that's a really wide Batmobile, just like this Bat Tank. This right here is the Kenner Batman and Robin movie Batmobile. This right here is that Batman Beyond, and this is the Spin Master Batman Crusader Batmobile right there. So like I said, this thing is meant to be taller. It's meant to be wider, and but it's not longer than the rest of these other Batmobiles. To be real, it's actually shorter than a lot of the Batmobiles that I have as far as length goes, because some of these fins are a lot longer. Even this Batmobile right here is just a lot longer in general, even without the fins, than the Bat Tank right here. So yeah, that right there is a comparison. I have a bunch of other Batmobiles, but I'd be all day trying to pull them all out for you guys. Alright guys, that was pretty much a look at the Dark Knight Returns Bat Tank. Like I said, this is a custom piece from Dark Claw Customs, and I'll leave a link in the description below in case you guys want to head over to his YouTube channel or his Facebook and try and find him to contact him about ordering one of these. Now, when I went to his page, I noticed that these tanks only came in like a brushed steel, a brushed nickel color, and I didn't want it to be like that. I wanted it to be more like the comic book. So when I requested him to change the color, he simply just said,
"Yes, Mr. Wayne, it does come in black."
So that's why my tank is going to be a little bit different than the tanks that you guys see on his page, just because I requested another color, that's all. Now, when I bought this about 2.5 years ago, he had told me that I'm one of only 3 people to actually have this tank in the States. And so you got to try and remember that at that time, COVID shipping prices were insane. So when I bought this, it costed me a pretty penny to ship it from the Philippines here in the States to where I live. So just be prepared for that in case you guys want to order one of these. It's an amazing piece. It's a really rare piece because no other toy company ever made a Bat Tank that is around this size to fit figures and to fit in with the rest of the vehicles that all the other toy companies have made. So I'm really excited to add this piece down here to the Cave of Wonders because it's really an amazing piece of art. Now, to all my subscribers out there, thank you guys for supporting this channel. I really appreciate it. Stick with me, guys, because you ain't seen nothing yet. I got so many toys, I can't wait to share them with you. Stay cool, guys.
Batman, show yourself. Face me, fool, and I will kill you. I will show you who rules Gotham City.
Okay, son, show me.
Go ahead. Say this has never happened to you before.
Shut up.
Make me. Come on, finish me.
Isn't this a school night, young lady?
This is between you and me.
We don't have to do this.
Sure we do.